Hello, everyone. This is Nick here from Inflatable Office. In this session, we're diving into basic filters. Filters, they pop up in a ton of places in our software. We're going to zero in on how they can help you narrow down and refine your search results for leads, inventory, and customers, and how they're super useful in other everyday scenarios. Think of our filters like a sieve, like any other use of a filter. They're going to sift out exactly what you need from everything else. We use them in looking for hotels and in online shopping. Makes finding things faster and easier. And in our software, they're the secret sauce for targeting other tools like our emails and automations, promotions and fees, and price schedules. So let's walk through some common sorting techniques where you're going to use these and how to build those filters for real world applications. First thing, just showing you how to get to where you'll find the filters in our software. Of course, that's in our settings cog. We select filters. This is where we end up. The first thing that you notice when you go to create a filter is that you have to select a filter type. Why this is important is because it's going to determine the fields that you have available to create the filter and also where it can be used in the software. It's only going to have fields available that make sense to the type of filter that we're creating. And likewise, we're only going to be able to apply that filter where it makes sense. We can't create a lead filter, try to sort through our customers, or vice versa there. Before we look at building and saving any filters, I want to jump back over and show you where you're going to find the filter when it is created, and also just remind you everything that this search bar here in the leads and event screen is already capable of doing. Once we do create a leads and events filter, for example, it would show up on the leads and events screen here in the search bar. We'd be able to search for that here. And likewise, if you had a customer filter that you created, you'd find it here in your customers, and inventory, you would find it here in your inventory search bar. But you notice with leads and events, we've got a lot that we're able to do to search already without having to create and save a filter. So maybe if you're just trying to look for something on a one-time basis or trying to find something quickly, you don't need to create a filter for that. But if it's something that you're commonly searching for, it might be a good idea to save that filter so you can access it quickly later. You can just go right up here into searching for lead name or something that you're trying to find, or you can narrow that down by status and maybe only looking at quoted leads. And maybe we want to narrow that down further by date or amount. We have a lot of fields here that you can filter and sort through that way. So let's only look at quotes that are, we'll keep it simple, event date of sometime in April. So now, I'm sorry, we don't have any quotes here in April. We're not doing very good business here, but this would bring it down to only the quotes that we have coming up next month, and we can even sort that further. So let's look at some common search fields that we have available, and maybe we just want to see a certain sales reps quotes for the upcoming month. So we're going to search for that sales rep, Sally Joe, and we would be able to see all of the quotes that Sally Joe has in April. That's something we did without having to go in and save a filter, but maybe you want to see all the time the quotes that Sally Joe has coming up in the next month, then you would save a filter so that you can quickly access that. Depends on what you're looking for and how quickly you're trying to sort through those things. Now that we looked at how you can use some of the simple search and filter features from the leads and events screen, let's hop back over to where we're going to build a filter. We can show you what goes into building these filters and where we get to use them when we do save them. Of course, we are going to need to save them for quick access and use for those other functions like the automations and emails that we talked about. After you create the filter type, and again, usually we're working with leads and filters here, so we'll start with that. You'll see that there are 3 parts to every criterion in a filter. First being the field name. With the lead, there's a vast number of options here. Just about anything that can pertain to a lead is something that you're able to sort that lead by. The next part is how it compares to that field name. And this is going to depend on the field name you select first. So until you select a field name, nothing comes up here. Once you do select a field name like a contact's address, it'll bring in comparisons that are relevant to that field name. An address, you're not going to have an address that's equal to, or I'm sorry, you can't have one that equals, but less than or greater than an address. That doesn't make sense for an address or a name, for example. That would make sense for a lead total or a dollar amount or some other numerical value of that sort. So this compares to field is going to depend first on the field name that we're selecting. And the final part is the value, which is value that's actually being sorted in or out by the filter. Sounds complicated, but let's look at a very simple one for an example. And I think a good one would be a contact's name. Again, this isn't a numerical value, so all of these things are things that can be used to compare a contact's full name. It can either contain, it can end with, it can be set or not set, and this is a bad example of a case where a contact's name is always going to be set, but maybe some kind of optional field, which would also be an option in the field names, or optional fields that you've created. That would be something that could be set or not set. Let's go with contact full name contains Stephen Smith. I know I already have a customer in here, and his name is actually Stephen Smith, but because we've chosen contains, it's still going to filter in that because everything in here matches up to what's contained in Stephen Smith. This could be useful for perhaps a university client that you want to filter in anything that has the organization of Ohio State. And we don't want to be particular about if someone put in Ohio State University, or maybe they only put in Ohio State, or maybe they have a department that's in there. We only want to have everything that's at Ohio State. So that might be a case where contains is useful. If we want to be very exact, then we would choose equals. And then we need to get precise about our value. Until we save, that's not actually being saved into the filter, so make sure you're always adding or saving as you make your changes. And after you do, you'll see here a value of leads that are currently affected by this filter configuration. This is a good checkpoint as you're building your filters to make sure it's being done properly. It'll show the number of results that are currently affected with how your filter is currently built. Now, some cases maybe you're not going to have any leads that are affected by a filter you're making, but usually you want to see some kind of number in here to know that, okay, what I've done makes some kind of sense and it's catching at least some results in here. If you've had some kind of error in grouping logic, which we'll get into, sometimes that might take everything out when you didn't intend to filter out some results. Before we get into filter logic and grouping, just kind of make mention of your ability to share your filters with your workers. You can just type in their worker name there, and you'll see that you would have the ability to either share with the ability to use or to use and edit. If you give them the ability to use and edit, then the changes that they make to the filter on their account will appear on your account also. If you only give them the ability to use the filter, then when they make changes to it and save it, they'll have to save it as a copy, and those changes aren't going to appear on your account. If you continue to make changes to the filter after it's been shared, then their version of that filter that they have not saved over as a copy is going to continue to change when you make the changes. So that's how it works when you're sharing those filters with your workers. Just talking more now about the logic of the filters and the grouping logic. As the grouping logic is often what causes these filters to fail when they do. And think of a filter group kind of as like stacking multiple filters on top of each other to either narrow down further or to broaden if we're using the OR qualifier. But those groups are just used to separate different types of fields. So an easy example for me to draw on here would be like a date range. Let's say event. Let's see, I'm already showing you how easy it is to be searching for the wrong field. Lead start date was in the last 14 days, and lead start date was over 7 days ago. And I'm trying to make this filter to find anything of Steve Smith's that started over 7 days ago, but within the last 14 days. So within 7 to 14 days. This isn't going to work because I haven't created this as a group. So we're stacking criterion on top of each other that don't belong to each other. What we have to do is when we create this next criterion, we needed to add a group. And it's going to split this up. And again, you see how this is kind of like one filter on its own. We need to have the contact name, but we also need to have this lead start date criteria be correct to match this filter too. Now you see that and or can be used, and as I said, an and would be used, and we're going to really tighten in on more results. It has to match as both of those. Or, of course, is going to split it up and say, well, you can have this criterion, or if it matches this other one, that's okay to be included in the filter as well. So that's the logic that goes into creating these filters. Now let's start getting into some real-world examples and seeing how we can actually use these filters. We're going to build a filter that we can use to always see the next 30 days worth of quotes. And this is going to help us zero in on leads to focus on to close sales, things that are coming up quickly, and kind of sorting out all the rest of that. And it's pretty simple here. We're just going to have a lead start date that occurs within the next 30 days and a lead status that equals quote. Perhaps you have some other statuses that you would want to include in there to be followed up on as well. That would just be as simple as adding an or here, because notes you're not going to be able to have a status equal both quote and hold, for example. So we're going to separate those with an or. And now we have got a rolling 30-day filter that we can use to follow up on quotes. From this screen, remember, we can filter it further. If we want to use by individual sales rep, we can search that field as well and say we only want to see quotes in the next 30 days by Sally. And we'll be able to filter that further. And we could even add this field into the built filter that we had so that Sally has a preset filter for herself to always see her next 30 days of quotes. So that can help you see what you have coming up in the next 30 days, Tilts in Business. How about something that you can look back on for past events and see what business you could recapture and some of those opportunities? Try a filter like lead status contains complete, and the start month contains the relevant start months that you would like to look at. What this is going to do is create a filter that we can view and look back and see events that we have done in the past and compare that against our 30-day rolling quote filter, see what opportunities we might have to capture business for the upcoming year. Let's just take a look at one more example of a filter that might be useful for sorting out your leads and events. This one I'm calling my VIP events. I'm a business owner. I'm really busy, and I've got a whole bunch of leads. I just can't look at all of them. So here, I'm making a filter for myself that I can just keep track of things that are going to be important to me. Or, maybe just to focus in on the ones that are important when it's time to do so. So in this case, I'm defining a VIP, and you might do this a different way, but I'm saying anything that spends over $1,000, I'm calling them a VIP event. Or these organizations are important to me. I really want to make sure that I'm focusing in on anything that contains the organization Ohio State or Cincinnati, or there's a particular referral that's a very important person to me. I want to make sure any events that they are referring is considered a VIP event as well. Now, again, you could modify this and you maybe won't even use a VIP events filter, but we're just talking about some ways that you can quickly and easily see what's going to be relevant to you when you come to this leads and events screen. Because when you have those filters at your ready, it's just making sorting through your leads and events a lot easier. And it just kind of gives you the ability to create a workflow for yourself. You can, customize this leads and event screen to show what you want it to show so that you're not being caught up by things that aren't relevant to you. That's how filters are going to help us in actually viewing leads and events. Let's go next into seeing how we can apply these in some other tools. First place that I want to show you where you can apply filters is through promotions and fees. I've got a head start on this lead here. It's a little bit odd. They've got 4 tables and a dolphin slide. It's really far away. It's like 100 miles away from me. And on top of that, I have this optional field where customers select if they need pickup on the same day, and they have chosen that. So besides being really far away, they need same day pickup. So I want to create a fee for this and for all orders far away that require same day pickup. So to create our promotion fee, drop down there from our settings. And when we go to add a promotion, first thing that you notice is that you need to have a filter that we can target this promotion or fee towards. Got a head start on that as well. And you'll see it's a filter that I've devised to be able to capture all of these leads. First of all, it's anything that's more than 50 miles away. Their delivery type is going to contain drop, that's drop off for my company. And you can also add optional fields as a field name when sorting through your leads. I have my same day pickup is checked. So you can have that either is checked or is not checked. That does not require a value then. So this filter is effectively going to sort through all of my leads that meet this criteria. And you can already see with this test here that I do have one lead, this existing one, that's affected by this configuration. I've chosen to skip over the promotion the first time when I created this, but you'll see as I make any changes to this lead. First place that I want to show you where you can apply your filters is with promotions and fees. Got a jump start on this fake lead here, and it's about 100 miles away. And in addition, I have this optional field where customers indicate that they need things picked up on the same day, which they have chosen. So it's really far away and it needs same day pickup. For that reason, I want to create a fee. So I go to my settings, promotions and fees. And when I go to add one, of course we notice that we need to have a filter created for this. So, going to our filters. I've already got this created, and what this does is targets all leads that are more than 50 miles away, contain delivery type drop, which is going to include drop off for my company, and they have chosen same day pickup is checked. Because again, you can put optional fields as a field name too. Anything that pertains to the lead can be chosen as a field name. And in this case, we just needed to have is checked to be matched. With all of these together, it does filter that lead that we started looking at here. So let's go back to our promotions and fees now and see this fee that I had created. So when it matches far and away same day, they'll pay a 50% fee on their total. Make any changes on here. I had not applied the first time so that we could see the action here. Let's ignore that one and we'll get to that next. There's our far and away same day pickup fee, and it is 50% of the total. Let's get to this table stack and fee, which we've been ignoring here. So the reason for that is because this venue, the ballroom, they've been notorious for not stacking their tables, and that's required of our customers. So we want to make sure that we're charging a fee anytime we go to this venue, but we only want it to apply to their tables. We don't want it going on all of their items on a rental. It's just for the purpose of stacking the tables there. So in this case, we actually needed to create 2 filters. First one being the leads in which this fee is necessary, and that's all leads where these venue names are being matched. So the ballroom and the crazy place, those are the places where we need to apply the fee. But we had to take an extra step and create a filter for the items, the rentals, to which the fee is going to be applied. In this case, it was really simple. It's just the rental names contains table. This might be more complicated for some other filters and promos and fees, but this did the purpose for what we're doing here. And let's look at how that fee was created. So if it matches that venue filter, then they'll pay a 20% fee only on select rentals. So the choices here being fee on rentals, percent fee on total, dollar fee on select rentals. We chose percent fee on select rentals, and we're only applying it to the filter tables, which is the one that just has rental name contains table. We'll just go ahead and let this automatically recalculate. It is going to be allowed to apply with other promos and fees, so it's not going to have a problem stacking with that other one. Here's our faraway same-day pickup fee, but we've also now got this table stacking fee that accounts only for the tables and not for the entire order. Let's talk next about how we can use these filters to create automations or to apply to automations. Here I have a hypothetical filter that I use to view tents that need to have utility inspections scheduled. And how I've done this is just lead rental name contains tent. The surface is going to be in grass, so it needs stakes. And I have this optional field that our workers are supposed to check when they schedule a utility inspection. And if that is not checked, it's going to be caught by this filter. So this effectively creates a list of leads that still need to have that utility inspection scheduled. It's great for viewing leads and going through and knocking out your workflow that way. It's even better if you can have some kind of automations that are attached to remind us to take care of the things that we need to do. So for that, I've created this offspring filter here. Just put a little more urgency and that the setup start date is within the next 14 days. And anything now that falls in this filter, we need to get on right away scheduling a utility inspection. So I have set to create an automation to remind us to get that done. And I think with automations, it's easy to think about the actions that we want to have done and what we want to have accomplished. But like we've discussed, the real secret sauce is in that filter and making sure that we're targeting the right leads and the right targets for what we want to have done. So this one, we just included anything in that filter. We could also exclude anything if it's easier to build a filter to take things away from that automation action. And easy enough, we just created a task for our worker here. Again, you could do an email, a text message to your workers, whatever works better for this kind of automation. But there's one example. Let's go over another scenario that might be relatable to you. So you have some limited inventory, and in this case, we're going to talk about obstacle courses. Maybe you've only got a handful of these. They rent out pretty quickly, and especially during the busy season. So the last thing we want to do is hold these for customers that don't have intention of reserving these or that haven't paid a deposit and confirmed their event. So what we have done is created a filter that we can use to change the status out of contracted and into a non-reserved status when they aren't signing their contract. Let's show you how we've done this. This one has a few parts. You could have more or less. But first, we want to make sure the lead status contains contract because that is the status that's holding items but is not yet confirmed. If the contract was sent over 2 days ago, well, that means that they've had it for a couple days and still have not confirmed this lead that's still in contract. And of course, the rental category contains obstacles, so they're holding our obstacle courses, and this is a particularly busy part of our season, so that's the time period that we're going to filter in here. With this filter, we can create an automation. Very generic title here, but we're going to again include anything in that filter, and this time we're going to set the status back to quote 1 time per lead. So as soon as it hits that 2-day mark where it's been over 2 days since the contract is sent, where it's now going to be caught into that filter, this automation will kick in to set their status back down to quote, and thus no longer holding our valuable obstacle courses. One more example here of a filter that we can use for an automation. This one could be for customers that have a gated residence and have a delivery the next day. And the automation that we want to create is to send either a text or an email to tell them, don't forget to unlock your gates for your delivery. This one catches anything that has a setup within the next 2 days. Delivery type containing drop-off. And my optional field, is there a gate, is checked. Just a few examples of how you go about building filters to effectively target the right customers and leads for your automations. So we have seen a lot of ways that we're able to use filters with other tools, and you'll continue to find even more advanced ways that these filters can be applied. Let's look at one more way that's starting to tread into the advanced filter waters, but that is in using filters to create custom price schedules and conditional pricing. Here I have a lead for a 20 by 20 tent, and normally I'm just renting this by the day, so sensibly I have my pricing set up to be $400 every 24 hours, as that's my normal rental period. But in this case, they want to rent this for about 4 weeks, and I find that this $400 per day isn't really sensible or maybe fair in this case, so I want to create a different price schedule that's going to be used when customers are renting things for more than 6 days. For this reason, I have created a filter called 7-day plus extended rental. And you'll notice that I created this as a pricing type filter and not a lead type filter. You will have to have pricing filters to be able to apply conditional pricing. This is capturing leads that are going more than 6 days, which of course does apply to this lead that we have going here. And when that is the case, I have a custom price schedule, and you can find this at item prices. You'll have to create these price schedules prior to applying them to your inventory items. So this is kind of the first step. And this is going to be called extended tent rental. And rather than going by the day, I just have $1,000 every week. So they get a little bit of a discount on how that's being priced. Now to make this work, we have to show conditional pricing. Pretty simple how this works. We're just going to find the filter that we want to cause the base price to be overridden or added to. In this case, we're going to override it because we're not going to take the daily price and add on the weekly price. We're going to override this one. So now when a lead matches this filter, rather than going by the base price, it is going to instead go to our extended price rental schedule. Let's see how that works. We'll just make a quick change on this lead. And we'll see that it is now suggesting our new weekly price of $1,000 per week. Let's find another example. Got this other lead ready to go. And this is a church in my town, and they're renting not only a bouncer, but also a slide. Normally, this often slide, I rent this 4 hours at a time for $400. Of course, this is an 8-hour event, so it's multiplying that by 2, and we get the $800 rental price there. You can see that here. For this one, I've also created a custom pricing schedule. And the reason that I did this is because for churches and schools in my community, if they spend over $500, I want them to pay a reduced price on this particular item. It's kind of like an incentive item that they can rent if they're going to be spending a certain dollar amount. But I only want that to go to churches and schools. So you can see the conditions that I'm starting to set forth for this filter that we're going to build. And I called this one schools and churches over $500. So the filter logic here is that we want to capture a customer type that contains church or school, which is a couple of customer types that I have available for my account here. And we also want to make sure that they're spending over $500 to be able to apply for this conditional pricing. Let's go back to our inventory. Plug this conditional price in. And if we've done this right, yes, we see that the price has suggested an update down to just $400. That's special for our schools and churches. Without going too advanced into the conditional pricing filters, just one last note on avoiding a common pitfall here, and that is in adding multiple conditions. If these filters are somehow overlapping and matching each other, so let's say perhaps it matches a 7-day plus extended rental and another filter that I've created for tent rentals. If I have both of those, it's going to have a hard time deciding, or it's not going to know, rather, which of these conditional prices to go with. That's one of the flaws, as well as just the pricing logic and such. So in those more advanced cases, may be helpful to get our support team involved. We're happy to be able to do so. But that is just a little rundown on how you can use filters in some of our applications and in helping sort and view some of your leads. Hopefully that helps you stay more organized in your workflows.